Welcome to the Film Fix. I'm Jeff Marker here with Jonathan Hickman outside of the Regal Atlantic Station, and we just got done taking a peek at Clash of the Titans. And this is a remake of the early 80s version of the movie of the same title. And they've sort of upped the ante with the special effects, and I'm not sure it really panned out as well as they hoped it would. There's not a lot of difference in the quality between the earlier film and this one, which was rather surprising to me. And so the story just really isn't much different from the earlier film. Perseus is played by Sam Worthington, everybody's action star these days, is orphaned by Zeus, and he's not happy about this. Meanwhile, Hades and Zeus are waging their ongoing battle, and Hades is determined to start a war between the gods and the humans. Here comes Perseus to represent man. He makes a big deal out of being a man versus a god, and so he's going to lead the mankind against the gods and sort of right the wrong done to him by his father and by the gods to all of the human beings.
You know, you mentioned Sam Worthington, and of course we saw him last year in Terminator Salvation. We then saw him in Avatar, of course, and now we see him in another certainly a heroic role in Clash of the Titans. He plays Perseus. You also mentioned that the look of the film wasn't really much better than the original, and I'm not sure whether that was intentional and that they were going for camp. This may be a movie that is intentionally light-hearted in a way because it doesn't get too dark, and also it might be intentionally campy, sort of an homage to the film that came before it.
Release the Kraken!
So Jeff, what did you think of the casting choices? I mean, we've got Worthington here, we've got Liam Neeson, and we have Ralph Fiennes playing Hades. And then, are we tired of seeing the overexposed Sam Worthington?
The Fiennes and Neeson casting didn't bother me so much, but I love that you called Sam Worthington overexposed. I think he might be one of the, he might have gone from being a nobody to overexposed faster than anybody I can remember. 3 or 4 years ago, nobody knew the name Sam Worthington, and now it seems like he's in an action movie that comes out every other month. I like him very much. He's sort of an innately working class guy. He kind of has that feel, and I like that a lot. I don't think the casting was what hurt this movie at all. I just think it's the writing. Sam Worthington is a pretty good actor, but when you ask him to do about 10 hero speeches, they're just going to ring hollow no matter who's delivering those lines. Now, the one actress, I should say, who might gain a lot from the exposure she'll get here is Gemma Arterton, who plays Io. She is just stunning in a sort of classical way. She's perfect for this role. She brings a sense of beauty and gravity to it that I think lends the film a lot. Jonathan, what did you think of the effects? And we can talk about this a couple of different ways. What did you think of the backgrounds? Did they create an interesting world? And they fight multiple monsters. Did the monsters work for you?
Thought that some of the monsters worked better than others. I did feel the intensity when they fought the scorpions in the desert. I thought that that really worked. I thought that as the scorpions grew in number, it became a little more intense, but then it became a little bit too much. I thought that it was enough that maybe 1 or 2 of them existed. Also, they didn't have a real feel. I honestly remember that the original scorpion in the first Clash of the Titans seemed to be a little more realistic to me. It had a better look to it, in my opinion. Plus, the difference between the computer-generated variety and the stop capture or stop motion, and I believe we talked about it with regard to Fantastic Mr. Fox last week, I think that the stop motion would probably have added an unusual feel to the characters that you just aren't able to probably duplicate, or maybe you don't want to duplicate in the computer-generated world. You know, this movie is all about the big beast at the end, and anyone who's seen the original movie is well aware of it. It's one of those things that's often on a movie reel when they say, oh, the great movies of Hollywood. The big beast in this movie didn't seem to be as intimidating as the original one. In fact, like most of the movie, it was a bit of a mystery. Whenever there's a fight in this movie, you can't grasp who's fighting whom or who is in danger because everything is shot in that Ridley Scott shaky cam. Also, and probably even worse than I've ever seen it. Jeff, I am sometimes pleasantly surprised by the remake trend, and sometimes I'm irritated by it. This film really just seemed like a money grab to me. I don't know that there was anything more to add. But with regard to these big event films that they're remaking, it's a dangerous trend because the original, at least Clash of the Titans, had this like magic to it. And I'm really wondering whether or not you agree that this is a disturbing trend. And Jeff, when do you think that movies ought to be remade?
I'm a big fan of Ray Harryhausen and the stop motion, so I like the original. But even I had to admit that, okay, in the early 80s, some people look at that, and if you're not a stop-motion geek, then it looks pretty outdated to you. And so I really expected something to sort of to strike a new chord when it comes to visuals and maybe add something significant to the story, and they really didn't do either one here. Like you said, the backgrounds. Actually, I was talking to somebody who Stan sitting next to me who said. You know, the backgrounds looked interesting and this world is sort of interesting and it looked significantly otherworldly, and yet let's just talk about the gorilla in the room. It wasn't Avatar. It didn't create this sort of three-dimensional feeling world. And in fact, on the three-dimensional note, I don't think it was necessary for this movie to be in 3D whatsoever. They really didn't utilize it. And so the story ends up just sort of being a rehash. The characters are okay, but visually it really doesn't add anything special or spectacular on any level. It ends up just sort of being a flat experience, no matter how hard they tried and how much money they spent.
I wrote this week in my blog that I just felt like not every movie had to be in 3D. You saw How to Train Your Dragon, and I wonder how important it was for there to be an 8% fee hike in the cost of the price of the ticket. Of course, we saw it for free, but that, you know, that to have the 3D thing, I kept taking my glasses off in this movie up and down to see what parts of the movie were actually in 3D and what parts of the movie weren't. I speculated on my blog that there will be a time when every movie will be in 3D. And I'm going to bite my tongue on this, but I venture to guess that eventually, if Woody Allen continues to make movies, Woody Allen will make a 3D movie. I mean, it's just going to happen. I know it sounds funny and that kind of thing, but it is the reality in the future. But what the next horizon is bringing 3D into our houses so that we can watch 3D right there in the comfort of our home. Because Avatar is going to suffer on DVD unless they have the 3D technology there. So a movie like Clash of the Titans is going to work. This one, even this remake, is going to work as a 2D film or as a 3D film. And I don't think it's worth the extra price of the ticket to see it in 3D. Thanks for watching the Film Fix. As always, I'm Jonathan Hickman, and my co-host is Jeff Marker. You can visit us on the web at dailyfilmfix.com.